The third project is the automatic piano. Here, we will program the Arduino to play a melody on the buzzer, specifically Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. We will also be able to change the tempo of the melody using the potentiometer, and the display will show the tempo. So now let's go over the code for the haunted piano. We will include the library that will be used for the display and set up a display object for the display on the Arduino connected to the Arduino. We set up the pins for the buzzer and the potentiometer, and again we'll define the pitches for the notes we'll need. Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars requires the notes from C, middle C to A. Similar to how our piano earlier had note C to G, except this time we also need a sixth note, which is called note A. And a quarter note gets a single beat, and a half note gets 2 beats. So basically what this means is that a half note will be twice as long as a quarter note, and this is just defining how long we'll play each note. This is the number of notes in the melody, and this is the melody defined by the notes, and this is the melody but defined by the length of each note. We also have a float for time off, value, previous value, which we set to -5 for now, beats per minute, and period. We also create our own function, similar to how void setup is created. We'll have a void because this function will not return anything, instead it only does something. And although usually you see like in setup or loop, these are empty, we can also pass in some values. So here we'll be passing in the period. So what that means is when we want to call this function, we'll need to put inside parenthesis, play melody parenthesis, whatever the period is. We also, in here, we will call something float the duration of the note. And this is here a for loop. So in a for loop, you define a placeholder variable, and you increase that value until it reaches a certain threshold. So here we have I is 0, and as long as this is an if statement here, so if I is less than num notes, we'll go through the for loop and increase I. And if I is equal to or greater than num notes, we'll exit the for loop and we're done. So now we'll go in here and we'll set the duration of the note to be the period times the note value. And since note values is a list, we can call the note value by using note values I, which means that we are calling the ith value in the list and finding out what that value is. We're going to do the same thing in the tone function. We're going to give it the buzzer, and we're going to find out which note we want to play using melody in square brackets I, which will tell us what letter this is. And the length will be the duration of the note minus time off. And then we'll also delay duration note. Remember, tone and delay run concurrently, which means that if we did a delay of just time off, this would do nothing, and the note would continue playing without any break in between. So that's why we do delay duration of the note. In the setup, we define the pin modes and set up the OLED display. The value we read from the potentiometer. And again, we want to make sure that the potentiometer is actually changing values. So we use this if statement. We calculate the beats per minute, similar to what we did in the piano. And we set time off to be the period times 0.3. The pre-val is going to be now val. And we now use this space over here to change the output on the LED display. Then we use the play melody function given the period, and then we wait for 1 second. And during the play melody, nothing else will happen, which is why you can't change the potentiometer and expect it to change the tempo of the piece. So now let's test out the automatic piano. I'm compiling it, and we should see it pop up shortly. Here we go. So auto piano, and it shows the beats per minute. We're right now playing at 208. So once we change it, we'll have to wait for the buzzer to finish the melody before it will register any new changes on the potentiometer. See, now it will show a tempo of 98. And now we have the automatic piano functional.